Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Difficult Memory 256 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, would I be the arsehole here for exposing my uncle to the family? So I, 16 female, have an interesting issue. My parents got divorced about a year ago due to my mother's infidelity, and the man I thought was my father actually isn't. During the divorce, the man I thought was my dad my whole life adopted me. He said I was his daughter before, and he was still my father now. The big issue is my dad's older brother, Patrick. He had a massive stroke 5 years ago, and it radically altered his personality. He used to be really fun to be around, but afterwards he became really strange and would get fixated on things like counting the number of windows in a house or trying to find a cat that had been dead for years. In the last year and a half, he started acting weird around me. He would get quiet when I came around or started acting hostile when I was at events. Eventually, he had a meltdown and accused me of seducing my dad in order to get adopted. Everyone has played it off as just something that Patrick's brain came up with, and that he didn't mean it. He does say things pretty insane like that often. I thought he moved on to something else, but I got a message a few days ago, and it wasn't anything too bad. The person was asking me about my nickname on my account. I told them that was what my dad called me. He said something that made me feel sick. It was a line my uncle used before, asking if it was something my dad called while he was on top of me. I took screenshots of the message and reported the account. I've been looking at the messages and I've been thinking about sending it to the family so they can see what I've been dealing with. I mean, it would be pretty bad if I did, and I don't want to nuke everything in the family, but I don't want to keep having to put up with this. So would I be the arsehole here if I sent the message to the family? 16 years old and having to deal with this. Absolutely not the arsehole. Brain injury or not, it's sexual harassment and needs to be stopped now. Your uncle isn't just saying weird stuff anymore. He's creating anonymous accounts to send you sexually explicit messages. And you know, that's planned behavior. You need to tell adults immediately. I'd be telling your dad first and be showing him the screenshots, and then letting the family know at the same time, because at the moment everyone's just dismissing his behavior as harmless stuff, right? But he's targeting you at the moment. You know, people have already failed to protecting you in this situation when they wrote off his first set of accusations as, you know, just Patrick being Patrick, just being weird, you know. And the stroke is tragic, but his medical condition doesn't mean that you have to suffer because of it. You're 16 years old. They need to be dealing with this. Latta says you would not be the arsehole. Your dad is there to protect you. He adopted you, which means he loves you and wants you to be happy, healthy, and safe. That includes someone harassing you / making you uncomfortable. I'd recommend first telling your dad someone said something uncomfortable to you online, then telling him it's identical to something your uncle has said. Follow up with telling him you can't shake the uncomfortable feeling you get around your uncle. Best of luck with this. Ez says you need to share this with a dad who chose you. Secrets are dangerous in this type of situation. Groovy says don't send it to the entire family, but do immediately tell your dad. Also tell your dad that the meltdown was not the first time you felt something was going on with uncle. You aren't even telling on uncle to get him in trouble. You're doing it to protect you and perhaps get some medical intervention if his hallucinations and delusions are getting worse. His regular caretakers should know what is going on as well. Ashura says you would not be the arsehole, but before you post it to the family chat, have a discussion with your dad first. Like, I understand the want to just get it over with and not be convinced by anyone else, but, well, you shouldn't blindside your dad with this. Have a conversation with him being like, so I believe uncle is still sending me inappropriate messages. I know it will stir up drama in the family, but I want to send these pictures to the group chat so they can understand what I'm going through and the type of stuff I'm dealing with. Because last time they seemed pretty dismissive of me due to uncle having a personality disorder. But well, most of all because I'm scared. Messages like this are signs of escalation, and well, I don't feel very safe and will not be going around him in the future. Yeah, that's a decent comment, I think. Good advice there. So OP did update the post and said, so I've gotten a few messages from people asking if everything was alright. and if I had any new information. So I guess it's update time. I had a conversation with my dad about it and showed him the screenshots. I called my cousin, Patrick's daughter, and had her confirm that the username the messages had come from were her dad's, and things sort of blew up from there. We found out that not only has he been telling family members about his disgusting little theory, but he was also telling random people all over the city he lives in about it too. Like people in the line at the grocery store, people he saw while eating out, just complete strangers. My dad is one of those people that's really loud, and when he gets quiet, you know something is wrong. He told me to go on upstairs and do my homework, and about 5 minutes later, I heard him screaming like an absolute lunatic at someone on the phone. I ran downstairs and he, as mid scream, calling my uncle, calling him a disgusting pervert. Then he hung up and sent a copy of the messages to the family group chat, letting everyone know it has been sent by Patrick. He said if Patrick was invited to any more events, there was going to be a very serious altercation, and he didn't want to be in the same city limits as him. My family, to a degree, knew what Patrick has been doing, but they never heard the really disgusting things he'd been saying about me or to me. So this was kind of eye-opening to everyone. My grandfather messages that Patrick was not allowed at any family functions until he saw serious psychiatric help, and apologized to me in front of everyone for the things he's been accusing me of. My dad was taking phone calls from family members until like 1 a.m, filling them in on what happened. So there's your update for right now. We're waiting to see what happens from there, and I'm hoping there won't be another update anytime soon or ever, but we'll see. There, Liz says on the back of this one, I'm glad you told your dad. It's hard to tell if your uncle has some kind of brain damage from the stroke or what, but at least family can protect you now. Long jumping and replies that saying, I imagine he probably does, but you're right, she's a kid and she needs to be protected. It's terribly sad that his cognitive function has been impaired, but that's not for her to deal with, and she doesn't deserve to be exposed to that kind of behavior, whether he can help it or not. OP replies saying, he does have pretty severe brain damage. He often gets confused about time and looks for family pets that's been gone for years, or tries to count doors and windows in the house and comes up with a weird number. Another commenter says, this is sadly a situation where the condition explains the behavior but doesn't excuse it. As a society, people like your uncle need to be held accountable for their actions. That doesn't always mean criminal charges, but it does mean people around you acknowledging his behavior is harmful and taking steps to mitigate that harmful behavior. Telling your dad was the best option. Now you get the protection you deserve as an innocent party, and your relatives all know now that uncle's behavior and delusions are escalating in harmful ways that need close monitoring. With any luck, he gets some meaningful help. Either way, not something you should ever have been bothered with. And overall, there was just a lot of relief in the comments that they did believe OP and backed OP up in this, because, you know, there's absolute horror stories all over the place these days. And quite simply, OP's 16 years old and needs to be protected no matter what. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Super Resolution 3214 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and says, Am I the Arsehole Here for suggesting now that our kids are at the age to go to school? My wife goes back to work so I can help my brother out with our mum's care financially. Throwaway account. So my brother became our mother's primary caregiver after our dad passed. He has given 6 years of his life caring for our mum. My hands were tied and I offered support in terms of money when I could, but our dad passed shortly after we had our second child, so our hands were full. Now that our kids are in school, I want to pay for additional support so my brother can go back to school. He always had great potential, but he also hates to see people suffer he deeply cares about. He also greatly appreciated they did not give up on him when things got tough. My brother is on the spectrum and he was a handful growing up. I think to a degree he blames himself for our parents' financial situation. He always said mum and dad would have been better off putting him in a group home or shipping him off somewhere. I've told him 1,000 times to not think that way, but he cannot help it. We were playing World of Warcraft and I asked him what his plans for the future are. He wanted to go back to school and get his degree. He was nearly done but dropped out to take care of our mum. So I asked him if we paid for someone to watch mum, could he go back to school? He said yeah, it has to be someone in the home. he refuses to place her in a nursing home until it is deemed medically necessary by her doctors. So that is a non-starter. I mentioned this to my wife, and while she is sympathetic, she feels our focus needs to be on our family first and foremost. We kind of had a slight spat over this because I don't think my wife understands my little brother took on a huge responsibility he did not need to, and took a huge responsibility off of our hands. I unfortunately cannot afford to pay for additional support required for him to go properly back to school. Yes, our mother has some services, but they are far from enough. And with the projected cuts in the future, those services are likely to be reduced in the future. I want my brother to have something when the time comes up for our mum to be placed or passes away. My wife is accusing me of putting her and the kids second, and it is insulting I ask her to work so I can provide for our family. My brother is my family also. I cannot move our mother in with us since all services are tied to the state she lives in, and my wife refuses to share a home with someone that has dementia. So am I the arsehole here? I know my brother has not directly asked for help because he knows how my wife is and does acknowledge this was his choice and he has to live with the consequences. Mother tradition asks the question, is the issue that your wife doesn't want to work, or is it that she doesn't want to work for the sole purpose of supporting your mother and brother? There is a key difference. Belle says professional caregiver here. I've always worked in private homes. I've had several clients with dementia. Your brother is such a good guy. Most families don't want to deal with their parents when they have dementia. The thing is, your mum could live a long time with this disease. How long can he put his life on hold? Caregivers are not cheap. Your wife would basically be working to provide a caregiver for your mum, and if she won't have your mum in the home or move to help, then you're stuck. What is your mum's quality of life now? Is she still enjoying her life and able to do things around the house? I will say most facilities are not very good because a lot of them have a ratio about 14 or 15 patients per caregiver, so it's impossible to give great care to anybody. Those CNAs are basically running from room to room trying to get the bare minimum done. That's all they have time for. I don't really have an answer, but I feel for you. I think you know the answer is either going to be your brother continues to care for your mum until she passes, or you guys find a place or just taken care of. Actually, some adult family homes aren't too bad. They usually have a caregiver ratio of about one caregiver to every 4 to 5 people. It's residential care in a residential neighborhood home. People become like family to each other. My heart goes out to you. Best wishes. Commodore says, no one's an arsehole here. It's very easy to demonize OP's wife here. He's going to get all the support in the world when framed like his wife is being selfish for not going back to work. The reality is, OP is asking his wife to change the agreements they had. She'd be getting back into the workforce specifically to pay for his brother to be able to go back to school and his mother a full-time caregiver. She's not going to be paying to improve and secure their own financial safety. She's working for her brother-in-law and mother-in-law. I'm not saying she shouldn't go back to work for that reason, but I can understand why she wouldn't find it compelling. Sikanat says, I think this doesn't need to be a zero-sum game. Absolutely, your wife should start thinking about getting a job as your kids get older, but you need to recognize she's been working her ass off at home doing a lot of free caregiving and emotional labor. How much of that workload are you going to consistently, without being asked, taking on if she returned to work? Will you be taking time off if your kids are sick? Will you be doing laundry and doctor's appointments and take time off for it? Example, all the things she's doing right now. What you should be doing is gathering information about your mum's care costs and what she's eligible for as a dementia patient. Start with that. Maybe there's home nurse or caregiver available to give your brother a respite to study. She's a widow, right? Does she get a pension? Which brings me to my next point. Your brother. Perhaps he can do online classes, one unit at a time, so the pressure is off, but in the pathway to finishing his degree. Perhaps you can also look at him doing summer intensives or something, and you budget for your mum's care to have respite or something. Your brother might have some solutions that won't have you blowing up things with your wife. So OP came in with their first update and said I appreciate the feedback. Got many helpful messages and DMs that helped me come up with a game plan. I don't know how it will go, but this is my game plan and will tell my wife about it on the weekend when the kids are with their grandparents. I will make it clear that I'm going to take care of my mother. That is going to happen. It will probably take about a year, but thanks to the resources many sent, I'm going to look to move my mother here to PA and get her Medicaid and services here. Someone provided me with a means to get services transferred from state to state to prevent lapses in coverage. I have my plan A and plan B. Plan A, my mother has moved here without a hitch, and she gets the same 35 hours a week, and my boss allows me to shift my schedule, where I can work from home outside major events. In case of major events, I will ask my in-laws if they'd be willing to watch our kids if need be. If not, as stated, aftercare closes at 7 PM and is free for young children. So one of us would have to pick them up. If my boss allows to shift that schedule, this frees up income that my brother did not have access to because rent would not be expensive. Not sure why people thought she had a house. She does not. She rents. With everything else, like food and stuff, being covered by the family budget, I could use a small portion of her income to pay for social day program. Average price a day is $80. That, in theory, with a 35, gives her a total of 12 hours of coverage. I will handle the rest myself, just like my brother has. He's been doing more. I'll start to look for prices to add separate entrance for our basement, since we have a finished basement, which is serviced as a temporary guest area, but can easily be converted to a private apartment area, I think. She has dementia, not like she needs a kitchen. She will eat with us, but has plenty of space for things like a refrigerator and stuff. This will also allow our kids to have supervised interaction with our kids, while not allowing her free reign of the house to ease my wife's fears. Also gives me the benefit to spend time with my mum. Plan B is more involved and pricey. So, say my boss does not let me switch. I tell my wife next year I'm quitting my job, but she has a year before I max out my vacation days and use FMLA. Not sure if this event qualifies, we'll touch bases with HR on that. So best case, she has a year and change to find a job. And we do what's necessary to have our needs meet her earned income. In this plan, my mum would not be living with us. I would use her income to find her an apartment nearby, which unfortunately does not allow for additional services like adult day, but since I am not working and the kids are in school, and if she gets the same 35 hours, I could spend the time the kids are in school and then the 35 hours could be used to handle the evenings. Now, after she is settled here, I will explore care home options, but I'm hoping when that time does come, my brother is done with school and I still have a job if we go with plan A, or can get another job if we end up with plan B. We can split the cost to put her in a good place. In reading caregiver forums, and it seems good is highly subjective. It appears to be a very lengthy process. Also plan Z. I hope it does not come to this and we divorce over this. I love my wife, but if she really pushes back on me helping my mum in either of these cases, then clearly we are no longer capable. That being said, if we do end up divorced over this, I hope we can be compatible co-parents. That is my game plan. It is a throwaway account, so I doubt I will update further, but wanted to give a brief update as to what my plans are going. I hope she agrees, because not helping is not an option for me. I hope she understands that. For those wondering, she is still fairly capable. As her doctor likes to put it, physical, she is in perfect health for her age. She is on IV testament for dementia, or is it treatment for dementia? We don't know if it does anything, but she does tolerate it well. She can dress and feed herself. Same with toileting, she is capable to go on her own. Sometimes she's reminding to wipe or at night may have an accident because she forgets or does not make it in time. Eating can be a battle because all she wants to eat is Chinese food, fried chicken, but my brother gets her to eat, it just takes a long time. She is a lot like how kids are, but otherwise she is one of the most loving people you will meet. As her doctors like to put it, she is presently demented. I hope since she still remembers my kids and sees them often via FaceTime, that once in person it helps with the transition. Overall, it is time for my brother to have a life and identity, besides being a young adult caregiver. I hope my wife does understand this. We do have another update in a moment, but some of the comments were pointing out saying, I fear you underestimate what it takes to keep a dementia patient safe. Not just cared for, but safe. They hit a point where only a careful lockdown unit can keep them safe. They wander off and get lost. They leave a faucet running and flood your house. They leave pots on the stove that catch fire. You cannot watch them all the time. You have to work, sleep, and take care of your kids. Poor Guy's reply saying, I know that there's a stigma against homes for older family members, but so many people don't understand just how much it takes to care for another human who's deteriorating when you're already trying to keep your own family above water. The toll isn't just financial. It's physical, mental, emotional, and as you said, safety is a huge thing that gets downplayed because it's family. OP, this may be your family, but that doesn't mean you have the adequate resources to keep your mother healthy and safe. Commenter says, well, it sounds like you don't actually like your wife and would prefer to live in simmering resentment until you divorce, whether that's this year or in 5. This isn't going to work out, but I guess you'll learn that. Livid says, it honestly sounds like you have a martyr complex. Yes, your brother had given so much to take care of your mum. He has done a great amount, but it isn't a competition. Nor is it as binary as he sacrifices everything or you sacrifice everything by making unilateral planning and decisions that will absolutely alienate your wife and children, leaving you without a life and tending to your deteriorating mother. You decided that you were going to make this grand gesture, but you're being overworked, caring for your mother all but 35 hours a week. Trying to parent maybe and likely divorced isn't going to help your mum. You'll be exhausted. Your options don't seem feasible long-term solutions. Commenter replies to that saying, and where will this money to take care of his mum going to the mum come from if he quits his job? He really hasn't thought any of this through. Opie replied saying, Plan B is because my wife has stated if her parents get sick, she would move them in with us. If she feels someone has to be present for when the kids get home, then I could take on that role while she works. As stated, I would take care of my mum while the kids are in school. Then the 35 hours of coverage would cover the evenings. Or should she be able to not work to take care of parents but not me? End of the day, I would be doing what she plans to do with her parents. I'm not asking her to provide physical care, just like she would not ask me to provide physical care. So OP comes in with another update and says, hey, saw someone replied around 10 days ago, so figured I would just give a brief update. I went with plan A and things have been going okay. We have good days and we have bad days. My boss and team have all been super accommodating and understanding. It has been nice to see our kids hang out with Ma while she has more good days than bad. Even her bad days are just minor inconveniences at best. She's not aggressive or anything. The fly down here was super easy and she handled it like a champ and she has adjusted well. Her face was like a Christmas tree when she saw her grandkids. Still fighting with the insurance company to get a HHA care, but they do cover social days 5 days a week, and her medical team here got her approved for OT and PT for maintenance purposes, which has been great. She's in better shape than I thought. Even her PT is shocked at how strong and how well she is on her feet. My wife is not exactly pleased, but we manage. As it stands, she is staying in our basement. I have yet to put the separate entrance, but we'll probably have to wait a little. It has been an adjustment. Lol, don't think my wife likes me being home as much. My mum tries to interact with my wife, but oil and water. I hope with time it becomes like oil and ginger and takes a little work, but once they mix, it is great. I'm glad I did this as I get to spend time with my mum and our kids get to see parts of the great woman that raised my brother and I. I dropped the whole job thing. We're managing. My brother will start taking winter classes this year, and yeah, I think overall this will be for the best. For those that do wonder, yes, I moved my mum in with me, but my wife does not handle her care at all. I moved my office into the basement, so when I'm working from home, she is with me. If I have to go on the field, my boss's wife watches her. She said my mum reminds her of her sister and loves the company, so does my mum. She takes her out to do her hair and nails and stuff. She's been super supportive and a great help. People have been very understanding and supportive. For your information, Medicaid blows. They don't want to cover anything. A lot of people were saying this is going to end in divorce. One of the comments saying that they would file for divorce because, brother gave up life so he could start his and the wife is an able body who can work, etc. Opie replied to it saying, would not say I'm afraid of divorce. I did speak with an attorney and overall it would not have been horrible on my end. Would be responsible for child support and some spousal support until she got on her feet. House would probably have to be sold because my attorney stated they cannot force me to keep paying for a house I was no longer living in. Attorney explained spousal support is generally not a permanent thing. It is meant to help get them on their feet. Getting 50% custody would probably be the baseline, but stated my spousal support would likely not cover all her expenses, even combined with child support. Overall, as a family, we're going through enough changes. And I guess I just don't want to put anyone else through more stress than is necessary. I'm not pushing the work issue because overall a part of me is checked out in terms of the marriage because I mentioned in the other post if her parents needed help, it would not even be a conversation. They'd be moved in ASAP. She's closer to her parents and it makes sense because they are her parents. And it was an interesting escalation through the post with the comments. The first one it felt like a lot of people were just going down the no one's an arsehole here lines, because there's a lot of angles in that one post. The second update, people were almost turning on OP because of his plans and they didn't make much sense and he's underestimating the caregiving, etc. By the third update, it just felt like a lot of people in the comments had turned against the wife and encouraging OP to just divorce and have it over with. But some people were defending the wife at the same time, saying, you know, how could you be surprised she didn't help and she didn't want her to move in, she doesn't get along with her, and she reluctantly agreed, but only if she doesn't have to help, and that was her condition. Other people saying if they were the wife, they would divorce him. But what do you guys make of this situation? I've talked briefly about caregiving in the past, and you know, I don't have much skin in the game really. And it's a different situation to this, but like I did a small amount, and I do want to say a small amount of caregiving towards my dad. He was given 9 months with mesothelioma. He only lasted that 9 months. And after work, I would try to stop off at my dad's, you know, to go in, spend some time with him, sit with him, talk with him, occasionally make some food for him. I want to specify as well, my niece was like the massive, like hands-on caregiver. She was absolutely amazing. Still is, by the way. But watching someone deteriorate like that is just fucking absolutely brutal. And honestly, my heart goes out to anyone who is dealing with that. For me, it was a lot of the mental stuff, like thinking what they're thinking about all the time, you know. Like for my dad, he was obviously told he's got 9 months to live, etc. That thought is just fucking, it's brutal, isn't it? And my dad was a quiet man, and, you know, I always thought, what's he thinking about this all the time? And yeah, it can fuck you up mentally really badly. But anyway, I'm starting to go off as usual, so I'm going to stop myself there. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you have dealt with it if it was you? How do you think it's going to end? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. Honestly, thank you so much for being here. You're absolutely amazing. Don't forget there'll be a playlist at the end there that you can click on, automatically scroll through all the videos for you, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care, you bloody cheeky so-and-so. Much love.